Hey there, UFC bettor, it's Captain Castiron, the world's leading UFC fight prediction expert, back once again to help you make money betting on the UFC. Now let's review my top 5 picks for UFC Fight Night Smith vs. Clark. Also known as UFC on ESPN 18, this event was held on Saturday, November 28, 2020 at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. UFC on ESPN 18 featured a total of 10 fights with the main event of Anthony Smith vs. Devin Clark. I risked 100 units on this event and profited 88.52. Kicking off my top 5 picks was a favorite selection in the heavyweight division where Josh Parisian took on Parker Porter. The line on the favorite Josh Parisian was minus 210, with the comeback on the underdog Parker Porter at plus 165. I picked the favorite Josh Parisian to win this contest, risking 18 units to win 8.57. Josh Parisian is a 31-year-old Orthodox fighter from Brighton, Michigan who is making his UFC debut. Standing 6 foot 4 inches tall with an 80-inch reach, Parisian has a 13-3 record, including 10 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, and 1 by decision. His losses are 1 each by knockout, submission, and decision. Although slow of foot, Parisian is a creative and technical striker for such a big man, throwing a variety of spinning techniques. If the fight goes to the ground with Parisian on top, he can land devastating ground and pound and end a fight quite quickly. Parker Porter is a 35-year-old Orthodox fighter from Connecticut and represents Underdog Mixed Martial Arts. He is on the shorter side for a heavyweight at 6 foot tall with a reach of 74 inches, and he has massive tree trunks for thighs. Porter has a 10-6 overall record and is 0-1 in the UFC. Of his 10 wins, he has 5 by knockout, 3 by submission, and 1 by decision. His losses are 3 by knockout, 2 by submission, and 1 by disqualification. In an interesting twist, Porter has a 2008 loss to John Bones Jones in Jones's 5th ever professional fight. Porter was dispatched by knockout quickly in his UFC debut, courtesy of Chris Daukaus. He seemed to be very slow and out of shape. I saw this fight playing out for Parisian, expecting him to be able to control the distance, land strikes on Porter, and inhibit his already limited mobility. Parisian would continue to outstrike Porter on the feet, then take him down and land ground and pound for the TKO. Things did not work out the way I envisioned, as Parker Porter scored 2 takedowns to 0 for Parisian and won the striking battle 164 to 123. Parker Porter controlled this fight and won by unanimous decision, earning scorecards of 30-26, 30-27, and 29-28. A loss of 18 units for me. At position 2 in my top 5 was a prediction of the fight between Gina Mazani and Rachel Ostovich, contested at 125 pounds. Gina Mazani was the favorite at minus 145, and Rachel Ostovich was the underdog at plus 114. The favorite Gina Mazani was my pick to win this contest, and I risked 18 units on her to win 12.41. Gina Mazani is a 32-year-old left-hander from Alaska, making her 5th trip to the octagon. The woman they call Danger is 5 foot 6 inches tall, has a reach of 68 inches, and is coached by James Krause. Her record stands at 6-4 overall and 1-4 in the UFC. Mazani is dropping to 125 pounds for this fight after 4 UFC fights at 135. She is a good wrestler with strong ground and pound and decent top control. Her striking defense is weak, and she is susceptible to being rushed and overwhelmed with strikes by a stronger foe. She has faced stiff competition in her UFC career, fighting Sarah McMahon, Lena Landsberg, Macy Chiasson, and Julia Avila. Rachel Ostovich is a 29-year-old Orthodox fighter from Honolulu, Hawaii, representing Jesus is Lord. She stands 5 foot 3 inches tall with a 62-inch reach and has 3 UFC fights, with 1 win and 2 losses. She was suspended for a year testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs. Ostovich is a good submission artist and is capable of taking her opponent down. She is often ineffective from top position as she took down Paige VanZant 4 times but ended up losing by armbar. She is an Instagram model and may not be completely reliant or committed to fighting as her primary source of income. This is a great example of intangibles in the UFC fight prediction game. Mazani is dropping down a weight class to flyweight where she will no longer be outsized. She moved her husband, Tim Elliott, and the dog from Alaska to Missouri to be trained by James Krause. She is talking like she is on a mission. Ostovich can make a living without being punched in the face. I predicted Mazani to use her superior wrestling to control Ostovich on her way to a clear decision in this fight. As the fight played out, Mazani scored a career-high 7 takedowns and controlled Ostovich for close to 7 minutes of the fight, outlanding her 106-49 in total strikes. Mazani scored a hard body kick in the 3rd round and followed it with another one that led to a TKO for her first finish victory in the UFC. 12.41 units were added to my total. Martin Day took on Anderson dos Santos in a fight I predicted at 135 pounds as the 3rd of my top 5. The line was set with Martin Day at -177 and Anderson dos Santos at +140. I chose Anderson dos Santos in the underdog role to win this contest, risking 18 units to win 25.20. Martin the Spartan Day is 32 years of age and fights out of Kailua, Hawaii. At 5 foot 10 inches tall with a 70-inch reach, he is large for the bantamweight division. Last fighting 16 months ago, the right-handed Day has a 9-4 record overall and is 0-2 in the UFC. After losing a close decision in his UFC debut, he was knocked out cold in his next fight by Davey Grant in a fight that he was handily winning. He uses his size well to land a good volume of strikes, but is very hittable, having the proverbial tall man's defense. Anderson dos Santos is an orthodox fighter who has 2 UFC fights to his credit. Baranga is 35 years old, stands 5 foot 7 inches tall, and has a 67-inch wingspan. 20-8 overall and 0-2 in the UFC, this is a must-win for the Brazilian from Sao Paulo. Despite having solid skills in both wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Dos Santos for some reason prefers to spend most of his time striking on the feet. He is extremely tough and durable, but in each of his UFC fights, he has not switched to his grappling until it was too late. This matchup of 0-2 fighters could be a loser leaves town scenario. I predicted that Anderson dos Santos would forego the slugfest for once and use his wrestling to take Martin Day down and submit him in the opening stanza. My prediction turned out to be correct as Anderson dos Santos won by guillotine choke in round 1. Martin Day tried for the takedown as he was getting up from the ground and put his neck right into the submission. A juicy profit of 25.20 units for me. In the featherweight division, pick number 4 of my top 5 involved a bout between Spike Carlyle and Bill Algie. Spike Carlyle checked in as the favorite at -185, while the underdog Bill Algie checked in at +146. I risked 18 units on the underdog Bill Algie, being promised a return of 26.28 with his victory. Hunter Spike Carlyle is a switch stance fighter out of San Diego, California. The Alpha Ginger is dropping weight classes from lightweight to featherweight for this contest, his 3rd in the UFC. At 27 years old, he stands 5 foot 8 inches tall and has a 71-inch reach, and his record stands at 9-2 overall and 1-1 in the UFC. Carlyle has earned 5 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission, and 1 win by decision, and both of his losses have come by decision. Built like a tank and throwing powerful strikes, Carlyle is a madman who fights recklessly without bothering to regulate his cardio. He is effective at taking down and smashing his opponent in the early going, but his output wanes along with his gas tank later in the fight. Bill Algie is a switch stance fighter out of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. The owner of Algie MMA and Kickboxing, Senor Perfecto is 31 years old, standing 6 foot tall, with a 73-inch reach. With a record of 13-5 overall and an 0-1 record in the UFC, Algio's wins are 3 by KO, 5 by sub, and 5 by decision, while his losses are 2 by submission and 3 by decision. Making his UFC debut on short notice against featherweight staple Ricardo Lamas, Algie survived round 1, won round 2, and was dominated in round 3. He is a lanky and confident wrestler who stays relaxed at all times, waiting for his opportunities and not wasting any energy. I predicted Algie would win this fight by simply allowing Carlyle to empty his gas tank in an attempt to finish the fight. Once Carlyle was tired, Algie would win any way he wanted. The fight played out as expected, with Algie outstriking Carlyle 4-1 and winning 30-27 on all 3 judges' scorecards, plus 26.28 units for me. Pick number 5 of my top 5 picks was another one contested in the featherweight division, as Kamaka III took on Jonathan Pierce. Kamaka III was favored at minus 310, with Jonathan Pierce as the underdog at plus 235. I picked the dog Jonathan Pierce to win this contest, risking 18 units to win 42.30. Kamaka III is a 25-year-old Orthodox fighter from Pearl City, Hawaii, who is taking this fight on 7 days short notice. Known as Fighting Hawaiian, Kamaka III stands 5 foot 7 inches tall and has a 69-inch reach. His record stands at 8-2 overall and 1-0 in the UFC. A well-rounded fighter who can get takedowns, Kamaka III throws effective strikes to the head and body in combination. He lacks power, having 0 wins by knockout, while being defeated by knockout 1 time. From Tennessee, JSP is 5 foot 11 inches tall and has a 71-inch reach, fighting out of the MMA lab. Moving down to 145 from 155 for this fight, Pierce has a record of 9-4 overall and 0-1 in the UFC. Losing quickly in his UFC debut to veteran Joe Lozone in Boston, Pierce has 7 wins by KO, 7 by submission, and 1 by decision, while losing by KO 1 time, submission 2 times, and decision 1 time. Pierce is big, strong, and tough, with a powerful wrestling game in his back pocket. On the flip side, he is slow and does not move his head at all while in the pocket, absorbing a lot of strikes to the head. I picked JSP to win this fight convincingly. As the much bigger man with a power wrestling game facing a much smaller man who lacks stopping power, I saw this bout as a wrestling clinic by Pierce. That's exactly how the fight played out, as Pierce took Kamaka III down 5 times and outstruck him 113-48 on way to a round 2 TKO. Thank you, Jonathan Pierce, for the 42.30 units. I ended the night at 4-1 in picks, with an 88.52 surplus of units. In addition to my top 5 picks at 18 units apiece we just went over, I picked every other fight on the card as I always do. Please check out my website, captaincastironfightpicks.com, for my fully documented picks going all the way back to November of 2014. Or check me out at captaincastiron on Twitter. Please like or subscribe if you appreciate what I am doing. Other ways you can support me include purchasing my picks, giving a donation, or signing up on my Patreon. All support is greatly appreciated.